why it's our fault. Because the Bible says, if my people, somebody ought to help me here. If my people, if church folk, if the folk who call themselves Christians, the ones who are called by my name, would humble themselves, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then they'll hear from heaven and I'll heal the land. God says I'll take care of the problem if we take. Some of us get mad at criminals. Criminals ought to be mad at you because you ain't doing what you need to do. Y'all scared me. This woman was terrified, and she went to the man of God, and she went with some expectations. And I think I ought to pause here parenthetically and tell you that she should have been able to expect something. Do I have a witness here? She shouldn't have gone to him with empty hands. There should be something that the church has to offer. Somebody ought to help me here. The church ought to be able to offer people in their time of need. Listen, y'all. I know a lot of us have moved from the ghetto to the Gitmo. But the truth of the matter is we pastor in areas that are financially challenged. And can I just park here for just a minute? Touch your neighbor real close to you and say, ministry costs. Amen. Ministry costs. Salvation is free, but it ain't cheap. I will say it. Salvation is free, but it ain't cheap. It cost Jesus his life. And amen. It costs you something to serve in the community that is challenged. And so she comes to him. She's crying. She's pleading her case because, believe it or not, she needed this man of God to help her. Let me just park here before I even get to my points and tell you that your experience with God will alter your expectations from God. Man, that's rich. That's so rich. I'm going to say it again. Somebody, y'all write that down. Your experience with God will determine your expectations from God. You see, that's why the ones of us in here who had some experience in God get so loud. Do I have a witness here? Because we know that God, when we call him, he'll show up. Somebody ought to help me here, man. I'm going to get happy by myself. When we call on the Lord, he'll show up. And then when he shows up, he'll show out. I knew it would get quiet right here, Lydia, so I brought my own witness here. Come here, Joshua, help me with that. The Bible says Joshua was in a severe battle one day, and all of a sudden he looks over there and sees an angel of the Lord. And he looked at him because he couldn't tell his uniform. He didn't know whether they was wearing purple from the ark or pink from the new prophet. He didn't know who they were with. And so Joshua looks over and he says, listen, angel of the Lord, whose side are you on? The angel of the Lord responds to him and says, I didn't come to take sides, I came to take over. You are having witness here. I've discovered that when you trust in God, he will take over. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care what your problem is, what your dilemma is. God knows how to deal with the things that are going on in your life. Somebody should have just jumped up and say, preach right there, Pastor. In our church, as soon as my brothers get our projector fixed, when I'm preaching a message that may have some difficult points in it where I don't think that they're going to get it just right, I have Cedric put a little sign that flashes a screen up that says, shout right there. So you know when to shout. Now somebody should have shouted right there. Because God has come into your life and taken over some situations you couldn't handle. Do I have a witness? He's opened some doors you couldn't open. Have I got a witness here? He stopped some tears that you couldn't stop. And even if he let you cry, he put an expiration date on your tears. Didn't he do it? He told you weeping just may endure for. But don't worry about it. Joy will come in the morning. She expected something from God, and so she went to the man of God. Amen. And she says to him, listen, I know God can make a way out of no way. I know God is Jehovah Jireh. I know it's not Job Jireh. It's Jehovah Jireh. I know it ain't just work that gets me what I need to have. And listen, I need to say this right quick, Paula, because I retired from public work on the 18th of June. Amen. After 50 years and 1 day at the same company. And I retired from there, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to become CIO of this company. If I had just answered the questions right. Amen. But somebody came to me, the CEO of the company came to me and wanted to talk to me about the position. He had the unmitigated gall to walk up and says, Vern, I hear you do some preaching on the side. Come on, help me. And I said, no, I don't preach on the side. I work here on the side. Come on, help me. Listen to me again, because I didn't want him to get it twisted. I say I work so I can eat. I preach so I can sleep. Come on, help me again. Listen, I do this because God put me in this place to do this. And so he says, listen, can you help me? This woman had a level of expectation, and there are going to be folk that are going to come to this church with a certain level of expectation. When I come to church, I expect something. I don't come to church to be seen. I don't come to church to see you. Come on, help me here. I don't come to church. Some folk come to church just to see who riding with who. Not at this church. I'm talking about when y'all go to some other place, y'all can hear. Some place just come to see who come in with who and who ain't talking to who. And you know what? Some folk have the unmitigated gall to look at Sister Cooper when I'm preaching to see if we got into it. Listen. I need to go ahead and tell them if some of them came with me today. Hey, y'all can stop tripping about that. Amen. We don't get into it. Amen. At least we don't get into it where you know. Come on, help me. Because any good marriage is about conflict resolution. I have a witness here. We understand what conflict resolution is all about. So listen, she goes to the church and she says, I need to know something. I need to know my husband. You know one thing about him. He loved you. And he loved the Lord. And I want to know if his labor is worth what his love is all about. Somebody ought to help me here. Because there are times when we look back at our lives and it does not feel like our faith is shown up, our faithfulness rather, is shown up in the fruits that we have. She wanted to know that her husband's labor and her husband's love did not equate to her household life. And every now and then, as pastor, preacher of the church, I find some difficult times because I've got some folk who tithe and they don't make a whole lot. But listen, God never asked you to give anything that he didn't first give you. And I got some good news for you. I got some good news for you. Y'all ready? Wake your neighbor up and say, you need to hear this. God always gives you what you need before you need what he gives you. Listen, I thought somebody should have hollered about that. God always gives you what you need before you need what he gives you. Have you found yourself in a situation where you thought, I didn't know how I was going to pay that? Somebody ought to help me here. And then you remembered, but somebody did this for me last week. God gives you what you need before you need what he gives you. So she goes to the man of God and she's wondering, has his work been in vain? Has his labor been, has his love been in vain? When he was alive, he served you faithfully. He was a student in seminary. Come on, help me. He probably was in your class. She was wondering what's going on because she's looking at the financial situation and the level of inconsistency is incongruent with his service. It didn't match his service as a faithful servant. And so as I look at this text, and I need to help you to know, because I shared with our church that a whole lot of us believe we have access to God. Yeah. Most church folk believe we have access to God. Right. Where we fail is that not only do we have access to Him, we can expect excess from Him. Man, that's preaching, ain't it? Listen, here's what John said. John put it like this. He says, I came that I might have life, and you might have more abundantly. Listen, just because you're in church, you don't have to sit up here and look like you ate a lemon. Come on, help me if you can. You don't have to dress funny, wear those long, funny looking dresses. Come on, help me. Act like you've been sucking on a persimmon all your life. You can enjoy your life. You can look women. You can look beautiful. And look at, can I speak to some of the sisters in here? Maybe you better look as good as you can look. Do I have a witness here? It was not makeup that sent Jezebel to hell. It was the fact that she didn't accept Jesus as her Savior. And there's going to be a whole lot of folk in hell with dry, clean faces. Y'all making me read my text. That ain't my text. The devil is a liar. Amen. God sent me here to tell you that God rewards faithfulness. Do I have a witness here? I said, God rewards. Well, I can't keep you all this long. Let me I gotta leave. Let's get in the text. You didn't close your Bibles, did you? Listen, if God is going to show you that faithfulness counts with God, the first thing you got to do, look in verse 2. You got to know that you got to expand your faith. I say you got to expand your faith. You know, let me say it again. You got to expand your faith. The question came to her. She says, what do you have in the house? The woman said, I got a little something. Little something. She said, I got it. Y'all making this too. I got a little something. Nothing at all suggested that she had sold what she had, but the gospel, according to V.L. Cooper, said that what she had was what she needed. She had everything she needed. Because notice, the question was not, how much do you have? What do you have? I got a good friend of mine. Baby, stay with me here. I got a good friend of mine who told me, he says, Coop, he says, man, the Lord saved me. And I told the Lord, listen, you've been mighty good to me. And so he told the Lord, what I'm going to do, because you saved me, because you've been good to me. He says, I am not going to buy a new car until my car breaks down. Do I have a witness? And now listen, Deacon, he says not only that, he says, I'm going to pledge a car note as a tithe. Come on, help me. He says, I'm going to do that. And I asked him, his name's George. I said, George, how's it going? He said, man, that old thing ain't going to never stop running. Come on, help me if you can. He said, I went outside one day and I cranked it and said, oh, and I started getting happy. He said, and it just turned over. And I told the Lord, let me out of this deal. I got another deal for you. God, listen, instead of